Hi everyone, it's A Ticket to Christ. Thank you for tuning back in. We are focusing on scriptures on greed and excess. And we're looking at Luke chapter 12, starting with verse 13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed, and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. So let's pause there briefly to kind of look at this. Like, what is jumping out at you that would speak of greed or excess? What I zero in on when I think about this is the word covetousness, right? And what is that? The Bible talks about not coveting your neighbor's, you name it, whatever it is, car, in those days it was like, I guess, donkey and things like that. So it's not craving the things that belong to other people and wanting them for yourself. And, what I think about when I think of this as well is back in the Old Testament when people would bring their cases before Moses so that he would judge them. So that it sounds to me like this guy was trying to do that, bringing this case for Jesus to try it. But that was the focus of Jesus's ministry while he was here on earth, right? And so Jesus said, man, who made me a judge or divider over you, right? That's not my role in your life right now, right? And then he still gives him some spiritual insight. So he gives him insight. He addresses the man's spiritual condition, which is the issue, the underlying issue of viewing his life from the position of possessions. So the abundance of what he might have. So I think of this person as being someone focusing on excess, someone focusing on greed. And then you see the mindset there displayed as you read further down through the parable the Lord gives. It says in verse 16, And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So right away, Jesus gives him the right perspective about life through this parable. He gives those who are listening, and he gives this young man just about the type of heart to have. But let's unpack the parable a little bit. Like, what is standing out to you? What I'm seeing here is in verse 16, it says, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. So this person was able to be productive, right? It was the equivalent would be you made a lot of money, you got a huge bonus, that year, that it was a very lucrative year for you in your business. That's what it sounds like. But I think in terms here of this person had goods. So it was a physical, tangible asset that he had a lot of because he needed to tear something down to make room to put it in, to put more of it in, right? So he was never satisfied. He wasn't satisfied with what he had, that he had a lot. He had this big plan that, okay, I'm going to hoard everything. And then when I get old, I'll relax, eat, drink, and I'll have more than enough. I'll be able to live out my years, you know, having a good time. But God told this man, you're dying tonight. So all of the things he hoarded, all of the things he had accumulated would, you know, that whole thing was a waste of time, a waste. It was just a waste. It was futile. It was foolish. It was a foolish plan. And that's what it's like to be greedy and to live in excess. It's like this man hoarding things, building bigger barns, bigger things, adding wings to houses, getting bigger this and bigger that to put stuff in that really you can't use, right? Really you don't use and can't use. And sometimes if you think about this, how can this be practical? If you're struggling with greed, if you're struggling with excess, how can you practically apply this example to yourself in modern day terms? I think of it like it would be if you have your closet stuffed with clothing, overflowing, but you can't wear these, you won't wear the clothes, you can't wear them. Some of them are too small, but you're not giving them away. But instead you're thinking, well, I need to get a bigger room, or I need to get another room to put my stuff in. If you need to build more things to put stuff in that you don't really use, that is living excessively. It's living a life of excess and greed, you know, a form of greed because you don't need it. And so what's the, you know, why are you hoarding it, in other words? Another thing I think about is this man's mindset, just his thought process. And the thought process of greed, where does that come from? In excess. It comes from self-indulgence, right? That wanting just to indulge self. And there is nothing productive that can come from that. It's not the type of life that will bless you or will bless anybody else. It really leads to foolish thinking, futile thinking, and a wasted life. That's what I'm getting from this. That's what I'm seeing. And it starts with how he was starting to think about it. Notice he's saying, and I will build greater, right, barns, and I will bestow all my fruits and my goods. So I'm going to store them up for myself until I'm old, right? And I don't think this passage is about not having things for yourself. I don't think that's what the Lord is saying. But he made the point in verse 21 about the importance of being rich toward God and not just laying up treasures for self. And how are we rich toward God? It's not that God needs our things. We're rich toward God when we're generous to people, to the people around us, and to the work of the Lord. That's what I get from this. So I think there's a scripture, I believe it's Proverbs 19:17. I wrote it down here, that, giving to the poor is like lending to God, right? So there's another scripture as well in Philippians 4 from 11 to 13. The Apostle Paul saying he's learned the secret of being content with what he has, And so I think that is key. Being content with what we have, knowing that the Lord is able to make it work. Not all the times. There's some people who genuinely have genuine needs. So this study is not for you. This is for those people who you're in debt because you're spending beyond your limit. You're in debt because you can't say no to self. You're self-indulgent. You're being excessive in your spending. You're in debt because of lack of self-control and coveting, what other people have, or other motives, wanting to look a certain kind of way. There are a lot of things that are behind those things. And I think this is a good study for this time and season, because we live in a society that's so materialistic. You see bombarded with ads, every which way you go, buy this, buy that, buy this one, buy this one. It's always spend, 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 spend. And so what can happen is your mindset can start to be reshaped into a greedy mindset without you even being aware of it. Many people have developed a greedy mindset and they're not even aware of it, because we're bombarded from the womb almost with all of these ads and all of these things. And so it develops kind of like a way of thinking, in thinking you need to have something that really you don't need to have it. You don't need to have it because you bought it and you don't use it, but you holding on to it just in case, right? So we're going to be studying this out for the next 6 days. I hope you join me and that you're having a great day, beloved. Take care.